What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, ninjas and ninjettes? Welcome to another Real Estate Dojo podcast. My name is Tyler Austin, founder and CEO of REISift. And in this podcast, really what we're trying to do is we're trying to help real estate investors, real estate agents, anybody looking to try to get more revenue through marketing to real estate homeowners, right? You could be a roofer, right? And this information will help you out. So at the end of the day, we want to remove the red lines from your P&Ls, right? Nobody likes a red line on their P&L. That means things went south a little bit in something. And so today we have Gabe with us, and he's actually been on the Real Estate Dojo in the past. In fact, he's been on it twice, but one of the episodes ended up not working out. So we're recording it again, which Gabe said is good because it's a little bit more going on, I guess, in his business right now or just in his life. And so we're going to get an update from him. We're going to see what he's doing right now and give him some advice on what he might be able to kind of tweak again. So we kind of got like an update to the update, at least on my end. You guys didn't hear the first update, but that's okay. Let's bring him on. Gabe, dude, I really appreciate you hopping on again. I really appreciate your time because I think the second one I had to reschedule like 7 times on you. And then it ended up not even recording. And so I do appreciate you being able to be flexible with me, man.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for sure, dude. So first of all, where are you at right now?
Like right now?
Yeah,
well, I'm in like broader view. I'm in Minneapolis, but this is an office that I actually have had for like probably 6 months. I had it with the insurance.
Okay.
Just me.
Okay, yep. Cool. Yeah, you can tell you're in an area that has older buildings just because of the arches in the windows and the architecture in general is like we wouldn't have that here, right? You can tell that you're in somewhere that has like 1950s and 60s type stuff or even earlier than that. Which is really cool. Yeah. Very cool. So let's real quick, we won't spend too much time on it, but let's go ahead and give people again, for those that might not have, listened to the first episode, give people just a real quick background of Gabe, what you do. You mentioned insurance a second ago. You do real estate. Let's get just a real quick overview.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm 21 years old right now. I initially started in real estate in really late 2020 when I dropped out of college. Did a deal, eventually got into insurance from there because it kind of had to. And so I've been doing insurance or commission-only sales. So buying leads, stuff like that, running around the country selling life insurance. And that's kind of what I've been doing. And then I just realized, obviously I want to get into real estate to have a legit business, grow it that way, and it's always something I wanted to do. So, kind of using it as a runway to transition back into it.
Love it. So, real quick, I know this is something that we have talked about before, but I just want to touch briefly on it, just because I know that a lot of people experience this in their lives, and they need to hear it from somebody else that has experienced it. You had a moment in the insurance game where you ended up racking up where you were spending like $3,000 a day on like leads and generation and stuff, and you had to really dig in and get out of that debt. So you just want to like tell that story really quickly, because I think it's just so important people understand like this is part of the process, and what you learn through the hard times type stuff is what defines who you are later. So just real quick, tell that story really fast.
Yeah. So, and I 100% agree, and I'll get into that specifically in kind of my own life. But I ended up doing like pretty good, like with the insurance. I like had a lot of money like in my bank account, and then I signed on to a ton of leads, like mail leads. So the thing with these are, you sign on to leads, and people, the lead companies send out mail, and people fill them back in or fill them out and send it back in, and then you're billed per lead. So it's buy per lead, and then with those. Like I didn't really read the contract, but they can raise the price anytime. You're locked into it for the mail, and like somehow that ends up being 8 to 12 weeks, which we both know doesn't take that long to get a response from a mailer back. So eventually what happened is I had leads all over the Midwest, And I just went through a period of time where I was just getting crushed. And, for like a couple months, I'm like, oh, I can do this. Like I can figure out a way to do this. I had other agents that I would want to run it. And I eventually just, was letting people run them for free, trying to sell them any way that I could, but just kept getting just crushed, selling full time, going all over the country, trying to keep up with it. But it took me all the way from, a couple months all the way down to having nothing on, 17 grand on a Amex and having way less than that in my bank. And eventually figured it out, got back to pay it off and then started building up from there. But yeah, it was an unfortunate couple months, pretty down bad.
If I remember correctly, it was kind of like you had like, damn well 50, 60 or some grand like in your account. And then in a matter of 3 or 4 months, you lost it all, but then also got it all back again.
Yeah. So I lost, it was negative like 10 grand. And then came back.
10 grand, got the Amex, and then, you were able to get it all back. And what did you learn from that experience in terms of like how money works and how business works with marketing?
Yeah. I mean, like obviously in like the eye of the storm, it's like, just like you're very like, I mean, it was a good thing for me because it's like, it opened me up to where like what I actually wanted and like brought more clarity to me about like myself. But from there, it taught me to be resourceful, and I understood like the P&Ls, like how important that is, tracking stuff, like actually measuring KPIs. Like I didn't do that then, but now I see how important that is, and actually measuring that stuff and understanding it. And yeah, just I don't know. I just mathematically, it doesn't make any sense when you're losing more money than you're making, right? So
right. And so the reason I wanted him to really kind of mention that is just because everybody, like, this correlates really well with people in real estate that go and hire an agency, to do their direct mail for them or whatever, and they're on the ban for 10 grand a month for 6 months, and they don't read the contract, and if they want to quit the contract, then they got to pay a $30,000 like fee or a $15,000 fee or whatever it is to get out of the contract. And so it's like, well, shoot, I either continue paying this agency, right, or I try to get it to work, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to just give them money just to cancel my agreement with them, but that's how it works. And if, and so you got to figure it out, or you might just hire like some VAs in the beginning and then start cold calling, and you're not getting any luck, but you're spending $2,000 a month or more on, VAs plus another, $1,000 a month in skip tracing to feed the VAs. And you get in this cycle where, because you don't fully understand the numbers and how business works, you end up ultimately just crushing yourself, and then you got to kind of dig your way out of it. And that's just part of it. If you do that early on, right, or you don't take advice from people that, as mentors or whatever, maybe you get bad advice from who you thought was a mentor, but really they were at a different stage from you, and they didn't know how to dumb down that stage to fit where you're at right now. They gave you the whole just, the money will come if you just work hard enough kind of stuff, which isn't wrong. It doesn't mean it's healthy, right? So I think it's just a really good story, because I think it really set you up well for kind of understanding what your lifestyle design is, right? And I remember last time on the episode that we didn't get to release, we talked about, lifestyle design and what you want out of your business. So before we get into your business now and some advice, how do you want your businesses to serve you? Like, what is your lifestyle design that you're trying to aim for?
Yeah, I mean, in like back to what you're saying with like the bad stuff teaches you. Like I feel like I experienced a lot of the things that I didn't want, and that again, glitch out for a second. That brought me back to like seeing, okay, my life, like what I'm doing right now, I don't like this, and it's like, what do I do want? And a lot of the insurance stuff was directly tied. I was traveling around, barely got to see like my girlfriend or do any of the stuff that I wanted, and it's like, I knew that I didn't want that. So I'd want to have more time freedom. Obviously, I'd like to make more money and not having it directly correlated to my time. And then also, I've always I don't know, maybe if this is recent or not, but I've always enjoyed like business itself. Like I'm very entrepreneurial. So like I want to have something to where I can build it and then I can make high level decisions, whatever, not be directly in the machine itself. And then kind of frees me up creatively to do other, things with that, investment stuff or business things. So that's ideally where I want to build that to be.
Nice. Yeah, really good. So it's really important to understand, how you want your businesses to serve you, right? And even more importantly, how you want them to serve other people, right? Are really, really important things to kind of make sure that you have figured out. So let's talk about your kind of schedule right now, because I know that that's kind of like a big thing with you with insurance. You're pretty flexible. What is your current schedule, and how much of it is dedicated to real estate versus how much of it is dedicated to insurance?
Yeah, I think you'll like it a lot. Like since the last call, I think you'll like this. So, like, I realized like when I was looking at like, I just been like obsessed with like 80/20, or like I read this book and I'm just like obsessed with that and like being effective with my time and like time blocking and scheduling stuff. And I realized that I could sell more insurance with the same conversion or higher over the phone. So I'm doing like everything virtual. And then I realized I was dialing Monday and Thursday, and then I would actually have 4 things. And like now I have like KPIs for the whole insurance thing. Like it's going to sound bad, but like I track those actually really well because I need to get that systemized to put into the real estate. So I wanted to get that systemized to like work X amount of time, still have the cash flow to put into real estate. So I'm doing them all over the phone. And I have an appointment setter right now. He's Australian for like, $5 an hour, which is really good. He lives in Colombia, which is pretty cool. But I'm
He's in
doing that.
Australia, in Colombia.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I'm doing that to where he's setting appointments, and I'm playing with different lead sources where I can get like a lower cost per lead. But I can just ideally I want to build that to where I'm just taking sales calls, and if I can optimize to have the same amount of sales calls in 3 day span of time, that's the exact same output that I had before, and I'm closing at the exact same or higher ratio for that, so it's fine. And then all the excess time that I have, I am doing just sales calls for real estate. So what I have now, like what you were saying, like I realized that I wanted to do everything myself for real estate too. So I'm like, oh, I'll make all the cold calls because I felt like I needed to do it, which I did do it for a period of time, but I realized like if I'm gonna build it to where I want to go anyway, I need someone to do this, even if it's not as good as how I could do it. You know what I mean? It's not like whatever. So I have two Egyptian cold callers. And then I had data that I skip traced like last year that I never used. And that's what they've been going through. And yeah, and I've gotten a pretty good, significant amount of leads from that. And yeah.
Cool. So that's really awesome, because I do remember that. I remember I was talking about like, what is it that you actually want to be doing in the business, and, reusing some of the money that you're making in order to try to create to where you can be actually effective doing both these things at one time. And so I do really like that. 2 Egyptian callers, and you got a caller. And what I really like is that you kind of figured out that the business models are the same, right? At the end of the day, it's a sales conversation, right? How you reach that individual, because we've talked about it a few times, like, hey, like you're calling the same people. It's an individual that's a living, breathing individual, which means they fit your insurance model, right, for the most part. And on the real estate side, they own a house, and so the conversations are relatively the same. It's a sales process that differs. So if you can just create to where you can spend most of your time handling those sales conversations, then that's a win-win. And so what it sounds like, what might be missing, or the next piece that's going to make it more efficient, is adding somebody that's more operations focused to kind of take over some of the, data side of the house on both sides, So, okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about, you had data from last year that you skip traced, that you're having a caller's call. I mean, with 2 callers, how much data are they working?
Well, I initially had one, and the second one kind of just recently joined. They're kind of both doing like part-time, like 30 hours.
Okay.
So they ripped through it pretty good, like pretty quick.
And are they using like call tools or ready mode or
Ready
what?
mode.
So they're on ready mode. Okay. And so are you just sending the same data into ready mode and they're just calling through it and then it comes back and you send it again, or like how does that look?
So they just got to the point where it was 5 times attempt. I think it was like 15,000 records that was skipped last year that they just went through, and they just got to like 5 or 6 attempts on that like yesterday. So
Okay.
I just skipped all the tax delinquency records, clean records that I had in REISift, sent that over to them. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Cool. And now the stuff that those 15,000, do you know roughly off the top of your head about how many leads they generated after kind of dialing through those after 5 attempts?
I mean, I'd probably say just leads in general, like, yes, yeah, give me an offer, probably like 40.
Yeah, probably 40.
Probably like 40 or 50, yeah.
Okay. And anything solid kind of shake out of them yet?
Yeah, I mean, I've went and saw like a couple houses. I have an appointment tomorrow to go see a townhouse. And actually, there's like a $900,000 house that I'm trying to get like a listing, like whatever. Yeah. I realized like my best use, because like for the insurance, I kind of like had to be really good at sales. So like, especially with the real estate license thing, if I can just have like, yes, I want to sell my house and then put them into different monetization models, like it makes so much sense, especially in Minneapolis, where like it's kind of like if I was in a different market where the house were like $100,000 or whatever, it's like it would still be helpful. But I think that's pretty cool. So I can have listings and
yeah, literally all you need is you just need people that are interested in selling. And then, like you said, I like how you phrase that. I haven't heard that phrase like that before, but I like that monetization models, right? Usually you hear like exit strategies, but monetization models sounds pretty sexy.
Harmozy.
Oh, he's such a freaking G. Yeah, so that's huge, right? Understanding that, like, hey, I all I really need is I'm paying these people. Like, what are you paying those callers? Is it Egyptian callers?
Like $650 a piece
A month. So about
$650 an hour a piece each.
Okay. So $650, and they're like 30 hours a week. So it's 780 times 2. So it's about $1,500 a month for the callers. Okay, so like 1,500 months, like what was that? 1,500 times 12. It's like 18, 19 grand a year, right? And so, the beautiful thing about that is because you have your financial house in order. I know from our previous conversations, you really don't spend a lot of money. Like you're not going out buying like a Lamborghini with your insurance funds and stuff. I don't think.
Yeah, no, I'm just really, yeah. I mean, I guess I probably should be careful. It's gonna be aired. I feel like I'm really conservative, but like obviously, like I'm not the only person in my life, so it's like going out to eat and stuff. Like even that like makes me cringe, kind of. But it's like whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, you live, right? But you're not like when I was your age, I was buying like new trucks every single year and then outfitting them with like brand new mud tires, and like I was spending money like crazy, and I didn't make money. I only made very little, and so like you're relatively smart with your money, and so like the point being that even if it was like 20 grand, right, for them, they're going to generate leads every single day for you, every single month for you, that are going to shake out. Even if they shake out 5 deals, 10 deals a year, that's a win, because you're going to, even at a $900,000 listing, that's we're talking
30 racks.
Yeah, and one listing at that price point will cover them for the year. You know what I mean? And then boom, you got all of those correct numbers for follow up. That will shake out. In the future. And so having that mindset is really huge, because one of the reasons it's so important is you don't get so attached to the money has to come in every single month. You know what I mean? It becomes more fluid, right? We want it to come in every month. We want to cover our bills and stuff, but especially with real estate, it's more of a quarterly thing that ramps up. I really like it. So as of right now, coming up soon, I mean, what is the things that you think you got to refine right now in the real estate company? What is some of the things that you feel like you're missing? What I can tell is going to end up coming up is the fact that you're going to need to start intaking more data, right? For sure. Because you are running 2 callers. you're going to run through those 15,000 or so. Because I remember your account only had like 17 or 19,000 records in them, right? It was not very many records in your account. And so you're going to run through those. You just did your 5th attempt. So you got to be skip trace in a second location. You got to call back through them again. But after that, you're going to have to decide, well, what do I do with those 15,000 people? Like, do I send direct mail? Do I let them sit? You're going to have to make some decisions here on how you're going to do that. And so what I think would be really, really important for you to start working towards is deciding on a vexation to be first to market on, right? Be it, foreclosures or divorce or probate stuff or whatever, you need, this sounds really bad, but with probates, when you talk to the heirs, if the person who passed away didn't have life insurance, it's a nice sale for life insurance, because they're going to be in a vexation point where their, grandma or parents maybe didn't have life insurance, and now, they got to deal with it. And so, hey, well, don't put your kids in the same situation. Let's get you some, life insurance or health insurance rather, whatever. So I don't know. So like, I always forget there's a difference between health insurance and life insurance. But yeah, so you got to choose a vexation to kind of be first to market on, you know what I mean? You're going to want to start doing that. And really you could do 2 because you have 2 callers, right? And so like for an hour or 2 hours out of the morning, they could be working on that brand new vexation data follow-ups, and then they can boom hop into the dialer and start working the bulk stuff, you know what I mean? But if you don't do that, then if you don't want to do that model, then the next thing would be really just getting a lot of Minneapolis, right, data, just base data, and spend like $3,000 on some data or whatever, and just get it uploaded and let it shake loose, you know what I mean? And start working through it. It really just depends on where where you're at on the insurance side to want to tweak, you know what I mean? See what you want, and how much time you want to spend in the real estate side. So, but what do you think? I mean, what is, obviously you've made some changes in the last, month and a half or so. Like where's your vision line?
No, I definitely want to do like a more niche marketing on it. So what I got, so like initially I was like super like lasered on like data, and like I was obsessed with like these different data points and stuff, which is like fine. And then I was like, okay, how do I do this? Get the data. So I got a bot for the Minnesota courthouse, and then for the Wisconsin one that like pulls the probates or any court case for Wisconsin and then Minnesota too. I ran it last night. It works pretty well. The problem with Minnesota, like first off, I have to figure out the process to make it like a viable, like clean record to upload to be able to market to it. They don't include basically any information for the Minnesota courthouse, that no addresses, nothing. So I had to figure out a way to append like that data against like the parcel data for like in the area. And I realized like Landglide I can do it on. So my VA, what she was doing was the code violations only had the addresses. So what she was doing was looking up the parcel ID or the property address, tagging it in Landglide as a clean record, and I'm just going to export those and you can tag them. So I was going to try to do that with the Minnesota court data to get a clean match against that if it's a property. So that's kind of what my plan was there. So she was doing that yesterday. It works fine for the code violations. That was kind of what my plan was. And then I was just going to probably just do like Wisconsin, like probates only, and just send a mail or something, or like niche stuff. And then I was trying to figure out what would be a viable option, because like I was using air call and stuff like that. Oh, I made a Twilio build out for SMS. So I actually had I have a Philippine VA too, for like $4 an hour. She's actually really good. She's very like detail oriented and really good. So she did that. I wasn't even sure if it was going to work, but it worked really well. So she went through the high equity data that I had skip trace last year, and we got a bunch of like responses and stuff, and she was updating it in REISift. It was like a build out from a developer. So there's kinks I was working out there, but that's functional. But I wanted to focus on Sensei flow and like the actual process behind it, because it's like, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of a ramble, but
you could do it. I mean, if you want to do bulk stuff, that's good too. It's just still just needs to be sequential, right? after you call through it a certain amount of times, if you want to text message them, then after, like there's people that went through 5 times, you could just not skip trace in the second location, just move it to SMS it for another 3 to 5 times, right? That's totally fine. At the end of the day, we're just trying to get correct numbers, but we got to track the KPIs and the results of all those things, because we just need to be able to know what is our connection rate, because we can spend time feeling like something's working and something's smooth, but it's not serving us, meaning it's not producing revenue.
Right.
And so we got to be able to have the KPIs to say, cool, I dialed this many. Out of this many that I dialed, how many correct numbers did I get? How many wrong numbers did I get? How many no answers did I get? At scale, you still got to do that in bulk dialing, because you need to be able to know, like, okay, well, I'm not generating any leads. Okay, well, I wonder why. Is it because a lot of the dials that we dial aren't being answered, or is it because of X, Y, or Z? And with bulk dialing, your no answer rate is always going to be way higher, because it's dialing multiple numbers at a time and only one of them is going to answer, right? And so, it's going to be a lot different, but it's still going to be a baseline. You know what I mean? And so you still need to have a baseline that you can improve one of those KPIs in order to continue then to get to the result that you're looking to do. So you can still do the bulk stuff, and again move it through a sequential model. But we just want to be first to market on some of these, like code violations or the evictions or some of these things, because it gives us the ability to build a KPI and a predictable model, to where it's hey, this many prospects this week, we reach this many people, and there's power behind that because of the simplicity on it. It doesn't have to be super complicated. And so what happens is let's just say with this bot with code enforcements, right? You pull code enforcement stuff, and let's say it's 15 code enforcements, in the morning or at the end of the week. Cool. Go to Landglide, tag them all, export them all, upload them, same day, call through them. Anybody you don't reach, send direct mail, right? And so you're doing everything. It's just continuing to be efficient, and you're sending it out. And there's companies, and we have users doing, $1 million, $2 million a year off of just one single vexation, one single problem. And that's all they're doing every morning. Boom, pull the data, handle it. At the end of the day, whatever your end of day checklist is, handle it, and just repeat, rinse and repeat. Same shit every morning, every day, and that's as simple as it is. And those companies then could add in the bulk, just like a bulk company could add this niche stuff in. And so it's important just to have both of them. Is really, at the end of the day, it's important to have both of them in order to scale a company in an efficient way. But at any rate, I really love that you have your insurance side dialing in, right? I know you're like all over the place, like traveling a bunch before. So I really love the model of starting to try and take that and turn it more into an operation where you can be above here, right? I don't know what the commission is if you were to hire somebody underneath of you, like what the commission split is if they're closing deals through your operation, how much you would get from that. But it sounds like you realize that you can, in your insurance game, really do the same exact thing as in wholesaling, where you got the appointment setter, you have the sales call, you got the conversion, and you could just like in real estate, you hire an acquisitions person to do those sales calls for you. I mean, I would imagine you hire another insurance person to do the sales for you here. Right. And so now you start putting yourself in, a position where you're working both these companies. Right. And they're both serving, your end goal or mission of the freedom that you're looking to gain. So let's do some action items here, because I think we have a really good baseline here. And but what I want some action items. I want to hear, like, in the next 90 days, what is the things that Gabe's going to work on, right now in his business, without being in too many different directions, right? Like, I heard code enforcement, and I heard 15,000 records, and I heard a lot of different random things there. I heard of, 2 VAs in Egypt, 1 VA in the Philippines, and so there's a lot of moving pieces right now. And so I want to make sure that, we're not focusing on too many things when it comes to the getting the data, getting it marketed to, and getting the leads followed up with, right? I want that to be very streamlined. So let's talk about what that flow needs to be in 90 days.
Right. And that's like the thing you're saying with the insurance. Like I definitely had the same thought too, but it's like I got to focus on one thing. So I'm just using that as a means to fund this. And I think for me, I need to get the data, like the probates is what I'll focus on statewide for the niche part of it, and get the Sensei flow processes. And I just think like getting accustomed to like utilizing REISift. Like there's so many different things like I've learned from like lead management to following up to like that type of things that need to be like more organized that I'm like actively working out. Like for example, like I was calling like leads today, and it's like I need to know like what people like am I like running numbers for, and what people like I didn't call yet. Like none of that stuff was like organized. So I organized that and made custom statuses to fix that and all that.
So custom status is a great way to do that. Have you started utilizing the task filters yet?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. I have.
Okay, cool. Yeah, make sure you have a flow with task filters to where you have, okay, task due today, task due, tomorrow. You can also have task due for follow-up attempts X, Y, or Z, and definitely leverage task filters for that. So between statuses and task filters, it'll definitely solve what you're talking about, making sure you're not missing anything, and then you just tell yourself in the morning, cool. In the morning, I know that I just click on filter A, do that. Then filter B, do that, then filter C, then do that. And then cool, once I'm done that, boom, now I'm going to go out to prospecting, or I'm going to call my sales leads, or I'm going to do X, Y, or Z, right? So just kind of set that priority of whatever that filter flow is. So I like the idea of probates. You mentioned statewide. That's cool. Can totally do that. I don't know. I would think Minneapolis itself it's pretty heavy populations. There's probably enough, probates in just Minneapolis to kind of get started. So, I mean, especially with how big of a medical area it is in general and stuff, like it's pretty dense population. But then again, you also have, because you're with Wisconsin and Minnesota, right?
For what that I have the bots for?
That you're marketing in.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's pretty much just like Minneapolis stuff, but I did have like some random stuff because it's like Minneapolis is pretty close to the border. Like Hudson it's like really close. So I'm like, I might as well. Wisconsin courtside's way easier to use anyway, so
Okay.
I might as well do that too.
Yeah, so I just figure out, that's what I was going to kind of get at, is like just figure out which one's easiest, like path to least resistance, right? Always remember that. Like, what is my easiest, like, if you're going to walk through the forest and you've seen a trail that was already, cleared versus one that you'd have to clear yourself, and been touched in 50 years, like it's smarter to go down the one that's cleared. In some situations, it makes sense to go down the one that's not, right?
Yeah.
Right. But discerning when the right time is to go through the harder path versus the easy path is definitely a skill set. But when it comes to when you're first getting started, it makes sense. You might be able to walk down the clear path just as you're getting started, but then notice where you can converge and go down the harder path, as you get used to, trailing through the uncertainty. Right. And
Right.
so for you, what I would say is maybe look into options on how you can get that probate data without utilizing the county if it's possible, right? Or if the bot works, then do the bot and then use Landglide, and you're going to do X amount a day. But you could do something like Foreclosure Daily, and probably just get like that's what I'm doing right now. I just Foreclosure Daily every Wednesday. Boop, I just pull them down.
Right.
Pretty easy. Probates. A little bit more expensive, right? I think it's like $1,300 for like 90 days. But it's worth it for me, right? Because right now, when we're starting happy acquisitions, I just want path least resistance, right? We want to get the data in, we want to keep it going, and then we'll streamline that, and we'll pull from the county. And once we get that process dialed in, and then we can stop doing that, we can just use the county only, and it's win-win, right? So always just focus on that path least resistance. So to summarize, you're gonna get a probate system dialed in, right? You're gonna work on probates, or code enforcement works too. If you already got code enforcement, then don't worry about probate right now. Just focus on code enforcement, right? It's something you want something that's going to be updating at least on a daily or weekly basis, right? Because you want to be able to pull it in, work through it, call them, text them, voicemails, direct mail. You want to be able to complete the cycle, right? So, 5 to 10 new ones a day, or 50 new ones a week, or 150 new a month, something like that you're kind of working through that. And we just want to make sure that we get a X percentage of contact rate. If there's 100 new a month, cool. I want to make sure I get at least 80 people contacted out of the 100. You know what I mean? And then I want to figure out how many deals do I get out of the 80, and what happens to the other 20%, right? Most likely a long-term direct mail nurture, right? So you're going to do niche sequential. You don't need to hire any more people, right? You have, so don't do that. And you need, you're going to get some of the flow set up inside of SIFT. You found some things to kind of streamline. Obviously, you're a smart dude, so you'll be able to handle that. If you need anything, you can reach out to us. And then in the meantime, you're going to make sure that your other company is continuing to be automated and flow to where you're really just focused on those sales calls, right? So you can make the money, feed it back into the business. So, honestly, man, it sounds like you got a lot of it's definitely a night and day comparison between the last time that we spoke and now, right? Like it seems like you have a lot more confidence in what you're doing now. It sounds like to me, like just from my perspective, it sounds like there's a lot more confidence in kind of like where you're headed down and what's happening. And some of that's probably because at least something's happening, right? In both of them, compared to before, you were dialing, but you weren't really like dialing a ton, you were working, but now you at least have them dialing. You're getting leads, and you're getting appointments more, which is really important. Out of those people you're talking to, you're getting in person like showings, like walkthroughs, which is great. So
concept.
Yeah, like that's fucking awesome. We didn't have that last time. Like you didn't really have any of those happening, and so that's great, right? And so what I want now, though, over the next 90 days, I want you to button up the probate stuff. I want you to get at least a first to market on a niche, right? Continue doing the bulk stuff. Even if you just get all Minneapolis data or specific couple communities that you want, get like some just base data there and just let them dial through that. And then just make sure you're first to market on a single niche. And let's do that over the next 90 days. But as we do that, we need the KPIs, right? So start focusing on get those KPIs dialed in. That's like number one thing. Like if they're dialing every day, then we need to know the results. An easy way to do this that's pretty hands off for you is just tell your VAs that you need an end of day report. Right? Say, hey, an end of day report. Make sure you send me an end of day report. I need to know how many people you dialed and how many people you reached. Like just start there. Right? And at least you have that insight. Like last night, one of our VAs, we started actually prospecting with Happy Acquisitions last week. For those that don't know, never heard of Happy Acquisitions before, it's basically a real estate company that we have started, me and Armani, and we've officially started marketing with it last week. And it's basically like a case study company to show people, what we're doing and how we're doing it. And so last night she sent a report, and it says today's end of day KPIs. And I'll try and see if people can see it maybe a little bit, so it's just like a Slack message. And it says dialed 149, 2 callbacks, total of 67 prospects worked. It mentions a 2-hour meeting that happened between 12 a.m. and noon, when they started dialing, and so on and so forth, right? So it just breaks it down. And so you can have them just do something simple like that. In here, she didn't put wrong number or any of those other kind of breakdowns. However, I could go into the KPI tracker that they're filling out at the end of every day, and I could look to see how many correct numbers did they get, how many not interested did they get. And so something like that is a really easy way to kind of handle that for now. But you want to dial it in. How many dials, how many connections, how many wrong numbers, how many non-answers is like the bare minimum that we need to have. And then what's the conversions of non-interested in leads, of course. Cool. Any questions for me, man? I think you got it pretty dialed in. I think over the next 90 days, we got some stuff to tweak, but I think over the next 90 days, you'll surely have it's only been a month and a half since we talked, I think somewhere around there last. And so, you've done a lot in the last month and a half. And I think over the next 90 days, you're by the end of the year, you're going to be fucking dialed in.
Yeah, I kind of, it's a really good overview to know exactly kind of what I gotta tweak. And like, yeah, I knew for a fact I'm all over the place. So like just getting like more focused, I think is kind of the biggest thing, and implementing the Sensei flow, tracking the KPIs, and utilizing REISift in a organization, be organized with it and learn it inside.
I think I'm losing you. Oh, there you are. You're back.
I see you mean with the 40 minutes thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like we just hit 40 minutes and then boom. Yeah, that's kind of weird, huh? Yeah. So yeah, no, it broke up.
Do you want me to repeat what I said? Oh, did you hear any of it?
No, I didn't hear any of it.
Oh, just getting like the Sensei flow process, like the data that I'm doing, which, you know, whatever the niche data is, probate, I'll focus on getting that set up, and then tracking KPIs and just being organized just in general. And then getting it to the point where I'm just taking sales calls for insurance and sales calls for real estate, and then have tracked those metrics over a period of time.
Yep, that's it, man. That's all you got to do. That's actually it. It's like pretty straightforward. Like get to that point where they're generating leads. Use your admin VA to get to the point where she's taking care of creating all the campaigns and feeding the data in and moving the data through the flow. And then you should just be handling the sales calls and locking up the deals, you know. And then once we get that kind of dialed in, we can decide what we do from there, whether we hire a salesperson or bring on another insurance agent or whatever. That's a time for down the road. Right now, we'll focus on what's right in front of us, right? Cool, dude. Well, I appreciate you hopping on and giving me an update. Let me know where you're at. You know, again, the most important thing is just going to be really just dialing in those KPIs. I want to be able to understand the KPIs really well. But I like the hires you did. I think you leverage time and money, right? So you said, hey, I have money. I'm going to leverage the money, and I'm going to let that kind of just produce some opportunity, and I'm going to kind of refine it, and I'm willing to spend the money while I refine it, because, you know, you have the opportunity to do so. Some people don't have that opportunity. Some people, if they hired 2 VAs and they were like telling me that they need a deal tomorrow or they're not gonna be able to pay their bills, I would have been like losing my mind, right? But that's just not your situation, right? You have funds and you have the capability, and so you hire the VAs and they're producing calls, and hey, you're cool with that. Like, hey, I'll figure out the organization, you know, in like a month or two. Right now, I just want to have some sales calls, right? And so that's what you did, and I think that's fantastic. Like, leverage your strengths and your opportunities. For those that don't have those kind of opportunities, like dig in. You know what I mean? Like be Gabe, like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago,
Right. Yep.
when he was like going through his shit, right? And so it's important not to compare yourselves to other entrepreneurs, because sometimes if we never told the story of Gabe like losing 50 grand and have to make it all back again in like a matter of like 4 to 6 month period of time, like you just be like, oh, cool, I'll just go hire 2 VAs too. Like now, like Gabe's like, he's not like ill seasoned when it comes to how he's spending his money. He's smart with it, right?
Yeah. Or also, not to cut you off, but also the fact when I got one deal when I first started, moved to Minneapolis, and then was living off $50 a month for food. And trying to do marketing SMS. Yeah, right.
Yeah, he did the bulk stuff already. Like he's seen through some of these things, right? And so definitely, you got to understand like this is his experience, right? And he's using his strengths and his opportunities to create the opportunity, and he knows what his lifestyle design is. He knows like, hey, I'm going to generate correct numbers. I'm an agent, and I also buy houses. I'm also an insurance guy, and so I'm leveraging those skill sets to do, to really service homeowners in a lot of different ways. And really at the end of the day, he's using it to create, opportunities from him one way or another, right? What did you call it again from Hermanzi?
From Mosey? Oh, monetization.
Yeah, monetization avenues or whatever the hell it was, so it's like, and that's what he's looking at. It's like, cool, well, I'm willing to spend a total of $1,500 a month here, Maybe it's a $5,000 a month in his insurance company, so I'm spending $10,000 a month between both companies. And at the end of the month, like, hey, I'm positive. Great. I'm going to continue to make those numbers even more sweet as I continue to refine the operation, right? And so I love it. Cool, Gabe, man. Dude, again, I appreciate you hopping on. I appreciate those listening. And if there's any way that we can be of helpful to you, definitely reach out to us, REISift.io. You can take the Data Dollars Challenge. Of course, I'm speaking to people listening, not you, Gabe. I think you've already done that. But if you haven't, then definitely check into it, though. And we'd love to continue helping you guys out, leveraging REISift to be really cradle to grave with your, real estate company, right? From the prospects that you upload to the leads that you generate, which actually reminds me, Gabe, one thing that you mentioned I didn't say, make sure you're using the offers feature. You talk about like who are you actively making an offer with and who are you not and stuff like that. Statuses, task filters, and then the offers feature. Make sure you're using all three of those. The offers feature being who have you made an offer to that you need to follow up with. You use the task, the filters for offers for that. But anyway, cradle to grave, manage everything through one system, making sure that you can track the things that you need to be focusing on, not necessarily the things that you think that you need, right? Because REISift isn't just a company that's built an awesome product, but we're a company backed by, real estate. Myself, number one, own over 500 doors. I've, made a bunch of money in real estate, and I kind of just decided to dedicate my time to, building a software company to help other people do the same thing, in addition to continuing to still do real estate, right? So we practice what we preach here at REISift. And so if you need any help from us, definitely reach out. Gabe, how can people reach out to you if they're, local to your area, they want to do some deals with you, whatever? Maybe they're interested in insurance even.
Yeah, I mean, you can text me or whatever. I got an Instagram, Abe Gandrews, I'm pretty sure it is. And then my phone number is 920-634-7392.
Boom.
Shoot me a text.
Gave the phone number out and all. Love it. All right. Yeah, fantastic. Gabe, dude, I really appreciate it. Reach out to Gabe, guys, if you're interested in insurance, right? And stuff like that. Definitely reach out to Gabe. But if you're interested in doing deals with him in that Minneapolis area, definitely reach out. And dude, again, I appreciate it. And I'll see you again in 3 to 6 months. See where everything's at.
Roger that. Thanks for your time, Tyler.
All right, bro. Thanks so much, dude.